Here's something nobody wants to admit. The generation that gave us participation trophies and follow your dream speeches, they were lying. Not maliciously, but they were lying. Boomer parents looked their Gen X kids in the eye and said, "Do what we did and you'll be fine." And they meant it. They believed it. Because for them, it was true. It's 1978. Your boomer parents sit you down for the talk. Not about sex, about money. Work hard, go to college, stay loyal to your company, and you'll be fine. We did it, so can you. Simple, clean, foolproof. But here's the betrayal. They didn't just give you a roadmap to a destination that no longer existed. They gave you their exact coordinates while the entire landscape was being demolished behind them. Your dad brings home a paycheck that buys more every single year. Your mom works part-time for extra money. They bought the house for $40,000. The pension is guaranteed. Everything compounds in their favor. And they look at you and think, if I can do this, anyone can. That's not parenting advice. That's survivorship bias wearing a cardigan. And when Gen X couldn't replicate their parents' lives despite following every instruction, boomers didn't question the system. They questioned their kids. Welcome to Wealth Logic. Today, we aren't just ranting, we are dissecting the financial lies you were raised on. We call this generationally transmitted trauma. Your parents were programmed by the greatest economic boom in history. They didn't understand that the rules of money had an expiration date, and because they didn't understand, they set you up to fail. Let's look at lie number 1. The first lie was simple. If you take care of the company takes care of you. For a boomer, this was a contract written in stone. You get the job at IBM or GM, you show up on time, you don't complain. In exchange, you get steady raises that beat inflation, full health benefits, and the holy grail, benefit pension. But right as you were entering the workforce, the contract was shredded. The 1980s introduced a new term to the American lexicon, downsizing. Suddenly, loyalty wasn't an asset, it was a liability. The guy who stayed at the same desk for 20 years wasn't reliable. He was stagnant and expensive. Your parents told you to climb the ladder, but while you were climbing, the executives were sawing off the rungs. They replaced pensions with 401ks, shifting the entire risk of retirement from the company balance sheet to your personal bank account. The betrayal here is psychological. You were raised to be a company man in a gig economy world. When you got laid off in 2001 or 2008 or 2023, you felt a deep sense of personal shame. You thought, what did I do wrong? The reality? You didn't do anything wrong. You were playing by 1970s rules in a casino where the house had already rigged the slots. Your parents taught you loyalty. The market taught you that loyalty is for suckers. Let's talk about a big lie boomer parents told. Get a degree, any degree, and you'll be fine. They genuinely believed this. A boomer could major in philosophy, graduate with $2,000 in debt, and walk into a middle management job that paid for a house and 2 cars. The degree was a skeleton key. So they pushed their Gen X kids toward college with religious fervor. Don't know what you want to do? Go to college. Not sure about your major? Doesn't matter, just get the degree. And Gen X listened. They took on student loans their parents couldn't even conceptualize. $20,000, $40,000, $80,000, because mom and dad said it would pay off. Here's the betrayal. When tuition cost $400 a semester, just work your way through college was legitimate advice. When it costs $40,000 a year, that same advice is delusional. So now Gen X sits on student debt that will take decades to pay off, working jobs that don't require their degrees, listening to their parents ask, why don't you just go back to school? As if education is still the magic ticket. The worst part? Gen X internalized the shame. They don't blame the system or their parents' outdated advice. They blame themselves for choosing the wrong major, for not working hard enough, for somehow failing to make the formula work. Here's another psychological weapon boomer parents used without realizing it. Silence. Not about money exactly. They talked about money all the time. Money doesn't grow on trees. We're not made of money. But they never talked about struggle, about fear, about the mechanics of actually managing financial stress. Boomer parenting culture operated on one core belief. You don't air your dirty laundry. You handle problems privately. You project stability even when things are shaky. So Gen X never saw their parents anxious about bills, never heard conversations about debt or hard choices. They saw the end result, parents who made it work, but never the process. And here's what that created: a generation that thinks financial problems are character defects. When you hit your first real money crisis, student loans you can't pay, credit card debt spiraling, rent you can barely cover, you don't think this is normal. You think, I'm failing at being an adult, because your parents never showed you that they struggled too. Or maybe they genuinely didn't struggle much, because the economy was built for them to succeed. Either way, the message was clear. Competent adults don't have money problems. So when Gen X has money problems, they hide them from friends, from family, especially from their boomer parents, who will just confirm what they already fear. It's not financial literacy they're missing. It's financial honesty. The next lie was about worth. For boomer parents, buying a house wasn't just a financial decision. It was a rite of passage, the moment you became a real adult. And they were right. For them, they bought homes in their 20s when houses cost 2 to 3 times their annual salary. They watched those homes appreciate 400%, 500%, 700% over 40 years. Their mortgage payments stayed the same, while their incomes tripled. So they looked at their Gen X kids and said, buy a house as soon as possible. Renting is throwing money away. And Gen X tried. They saved for down payments while rent ate half their income. They stretched to buy in markets that had already exploded. Many bought right before 2008 because they were supposed to by age 30. Then they watched their equity vanish, watched homes go underwater, got trapped in houses they couldn't sell in cities they needed to leave for work. But here's the psychological damage. Boomer parents had programmed homeownership as a moral imperative, not a financial strategy. Own a home equals responsible adult. Rent equals perpetual child. So when Gen X couldn't buy or bought and lost everything, they didn't just face financial consequences. They faced identity consequences, their parents' disappointment, their own internalized sense of failure. Boomers still don't get it. They see Gen X struggling with housing and think, we managed to buy, what's their problem? They don't see that they bought when everything was rigged in their favor. The great betrayal of boomer parenting wasn't economic policy. It was psychological preparation. They raised Gen X to expect stability in an unstable economy, to value loyalty in a system that rewards job hopping, to follow formulas that had expired. And when those strategies failed, boomer parents didn't question the advice. They questioned their kids. Gen X's money trauma isn't about being bad with money. It's about being raised with one set of expectations and living in a completely different reality, following every instruction and still failing, then being told the failure is yours alone. Drop a comment with the worst financial advice your boomer parents gave you that they genuinely believed would work, and subscribe for more on the psychology behind generational money trauma.